Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast.
I think you said Q, or you might have said 2, but I didn't hear a 1, so I'm guessing it was Q. What's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk Podcast. Phil Perry alongside. Appreciate so many people joining us so far, and we appreciate the feedback. Read all those comments yesterday. Just a couple heckling me. Most of them very good-natured. We saw a tough day for Will Campbell today on the third day in pads. Cole Strange was running with the twos. We'll dive into the offensive line first, but we saw another pick-free day for Drake Maye as the Patriots worked the middle of the field for the first time. We also spoke to second-year wideout Polk about what he'll try to do differently this year from last. Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel will check in on Drake Maye as a runner and a little update on some of the absences. But let's start with Will Campbell. Here's what he had today to say on Saturday about his aspirations for 2025.
Well, what did you do between the time that the OTAs ended to the time you came back? Like, was there something that you walked away from the OTAs and said, I gotta nail this down, I gotta work on this?
Yeah, I mean, I won't get into any specifics, but, we have exit meetings after OTAs, and, me and the coaches talked about some stuff, just, keep working on, and, just try to get better at everything. They're really, whenever you're a rookie, there's not a lot that, that you've seen, so you're trying to just get better in every way, shape, and form that you can, to help this football team.
So there's Will Campbell, and Phil, today, you described it earlier as he's riding the roller coaster a little bit. Monday, not so hot, not horrible. Tuesday, much better. Today, a little spotty.
I would say this was probably his toughest day of camp to this point, Tom. He did start out well enough. Won his one-on-one rep with Keon White, who gave him fits just a couple of days ago, but then lost his second rep to LSU teammate Braden Swinson. That's a day 3 pick going against the number 4 overall pick. You think you'd go with the number 4 overall guy in that situation, but Swinson did a great job of just swiping Campbell's hands right off of him immediately off the snap and winning to the inside. And then in the 11-on-11 period, while he had his moments, Campbell did, he also was on the scene, Tom, for 2 different Caleb-on, Chase-on sacks. Great practice for Chase-on today, but he beat Campbell twice to get into the backfield. So just a difficult day for a guy who I think is still sort of trying to find his way in pass protection.
Are you concerned, or are you saying at this juncture, look, it's the nature of the business. You're going into the NFL, you're going to get beaten by a former first-round pick here and there. You might lose a one-on-one rep. Or are you looking at something as fundamentally lacking in some of the plays that he is getting beat?
Well, I think the plays, we can look into that a little bit further and talk about it, and I think even the personnel that he's going against, these are good, not great players, right? The Patriots don't have a Myles Garrett, they don't have a Max Crosby that he's trying to shut down on a regular basis. Against those guys, yeah, you'd expect him to lose more often. I think the one thing that will be interesting will be for me or you or anybody to just maybe try to either talk to him or to the coaches here or to offensive line gurus that we know, Tom, and just ask about length and how it can impact how you win as a lineman or maybe where you lose, because he was losing to the inside today. The Swinson move in the one-on-ones, the 2 Chase-on sacks, they all looked like inside moves, and this was an area where he appeared to have issues occasionally in the college game. Mm-hmm. Is he setting too hard to the outside to try to make up for what might be a lack of length, leaving the inside lanes open for these guys? If that's something that he can't fix because it's arm length related, how can the coaches fix it? Can they get him to be a little softer on that outside shoulder and protect more inside out? That was something we used to hear Dante Scarnecchia talk about all the time. I don't think he was doing that today, so they're going to have to work on that with him.
All right, meanwhile, on the interior offensive line, center Garrett Bradbury down after leaving practice or coming up lame during Tuesday's practice. The shuffle was interesting, though. Ben Brown, who signed off the street last year and actually contributed mightily in the center of the Patriots offensive line down the stretch for what you would have expected. He was the first guy up at center with the ones, and Jared Wilson kicked out to left guard, which meant that Cole Strange was running with the twos. What do you make of it?
I make of it that Jared Wilson, to them, and to me, and I think to you, is a starting caliber player. The question just is, where do you put him? And it makes sense that they would put him at left guard as opposed to center. I thought he would be at center today, Tom, because I figured they would have a center need with Garrett Bradbury getting hurt at the end of yesterday's practice. They didn't put him there, and that is interesting to me. And I wonder if they're already moving him away from the center position, because earlier in camp, he's had multiple snaps to Drake Maye get fumbled. And if they're looking at that as a him issue and not a Maye issue, are they just going to put him at left guard and say, forget about the snapping, you're a guard now? I would actually hate that approach if that's what it was, because I think center's the more important position. And maybe right now he's the better left guard, and maybe that's more important to them. But long term, I think you'd love to see him at center, and it would be a tough pill to swallow if they were just giving up on him in that role. I'm not saying that they are. Maybe he'll be there next week. Maybe he'll be there next year. But to me, his long-term best fit for them would be in the middle.
And that, of course, means that Cole Strange, at least today, was a man without a country on the offensive line, at least with the starters. Do you see any relevance to him if Garrett Bradbury is down, as playing at center? Has he not done that enough where you'd say, well, we have a center right here. His name's Ben Brown. What are we going to try and monkey around with a rookie left guard and Cole at center? Let's get a guy who's in there. Or would Cole Strange be a guy you look at and say, boy, I wonder if he's on the outs here?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm not sure which way to lean yet there, because I could certainly see them saying, well, if we don't love Wilson at center right now because of the snapping, and Bradbury looks like he's going to be our guy when he's healthy, should we just start cross-training Cole the way they did last year? The Patriots were training him at center last year. They viewed him, that coaching staff viewed him long-term as a center. Do they just start doing that with him now on the second team, as opposed to saying, well, you're a guard, you have to be a guard, just stay there at guard? So I don't think they're giving up on him yet, and they might just be trying to get him those reps in the middle with the second team now, so that they have somebody who can maybe back up if they're not totally comfortable with the kid from Georgia snapping the football.
All right, let's move away from the offensive line. We'll keep an eye on it on Thursday. Friday's the in-stadium practice, kind of a grab-assery event.
It has been in the past. Do you think there's any chance it's a little bit different this year?
Depends on what they do for pads tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's been 3 hard, hot, physical days of practice, and I wonder if tomorrow is a little bit of a break for them. I guess you could push them one more day. I guess. I don't think I would do that. I'm not a sports science guy. Not something I would do. And then maybe you push them a little bit harder than we're used to seeing, at least in the in-stadium practice.
Yeah, because Saturday and Sunday will be days off, at least for the media. They'll probably be in here for meetings, at least one of the days the players will. But we won't. Club championship this weekend.
Oh, you didn't want to meet with me?
B flight, club championship.
We could do meetings.
I'm in the B flight. Could have gone on the A flight. I'm not playing off the Blues and shooting a 94. Saying, why is Curran in the A's? He shouldn't be in the A.
Yeah, thank God for that. Nobody needs you coming in Monday hot because you shot a
How'd it go 97. Out there? Not good. Yeah. I had several doubles, and then I had to go back because I couldn't find my ball. I took a 9. Okay. Meanwhile, speaking of running back to the tee, bad segue. Mike Vrabel, we spent some time talking about Drake Maye as a runner yesterday. Mike Vrabel was asked about it this morning. Here's Mike Vrabel on Drake Maye as a runner.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to run over every player on defense, or nor should we try. It's critical that those plays are available to us, and we do a good job of picking and choosing the appropriate time. And then when they do have the football in their hands, they have to, one, be able to secure it and be able to protect themselves, and use the rules to their advantage. Being able to give themselves up is something that's critical. And I get that a lot of these young players, they feel like they're fearless, and that's great. But we just have to make sure that we're making great decisions.
Really good observation, I think, by Vrabel that actually has some application to what Drake Maye did last year in both of the instances, especially the second one where he suffered a concussion on the sideline. I believe it was a second down play, might have been a third down play, but the party was over and he stayed in bounds. He took a shot that rattled his head, and I think he might have stayed in that damn game.
He did. They evaluated him for a concussion. Somehow he passed all the protocols. I would have thought as soon as you get clearly knocked out and then fumble the football as a result of it, that you would be done for the day, but he was not. That was that Chargers game.
But that seemed like an opportunity for Drake Maye to go out of bounds and said, yeah, staying in bounds here. Show my guys I'm willing to fight. And you got to use the rules to your advantage. But do you think that...
you got to work on that impression. You've got so many good impressions in the bag. The Drake Maye one just not there yet.
All right,
and I'm not trying to knock you down.
No, it's going in mothballs.
As your friend,
it's going in mothballs until it's better.
I feel like we can get better from you.
No, it's going in mothballs. I don't even know if I'm going to work on it. Listen.
What does Robert Kraft think about your Drake Maye impression?
He does. I'm surprised. He's done a tremendous me, but when it comes to Drake, he's really up against it. I wish he would just put it in mothballs. Phil,
that was excellent.
When you have Mike Vrabel talking in those tones, do you believe he might be tepid with using the feet of Drake Maye?
Yeah, I think he might be. Listen, we know he wants Maye to remain a passer, right, when he's scrambling around. So not just as soon as you break the pocket, just look to create on your own. Keep your eyes downfield. See if he can hit a Pop Douglas the way he did this past weekend. See if he can hit a Kyle Williams for an explosive play down the field. It's not an explosive group necessarily outside of Williams. And so however you can create those plays, we need you to try to create those through the air, Drake. But I do think that, Tom, if he dials back the number of scrambles, Maye, by having more of a passer's attitude outside the pocket, should that not open up more opportunity for some design quarterback run game? Understanding, okay, he might get popped on one of these, but we should be able to run 2 or 3. Maybe one he slides to finish it. Maybe one he gets out of bounds to finish it. And we will take our chances there because it's really, I think you can stress a defense so significantly by dialing up these design quarterback run plays that it can open up other areas of your offense. You'd be better off overall as a team, even if there is the threat of him taking some contact.
And that's where the Patriots' personnel issues are interesting, too. If you had an ex-receiver who people said, holy crap, everybody back, and teams had to play more cover 2 and man, then you would see more opportunities with the field being stretched vertically. It's not a vertically stretching team right now. When the field is stretched vertically, you do get more opportunities for a wide-open passer to emerge in front of a running quarterback. So we did see a 40-yard run from Drake Maye last year. God knows how that happens. Everybody running down the field, not expect him to run. That's how he ends up with a 7.8 yard per carry average last year. But in the passing game today, a lot of 11 on 11, a lot of 7 on 7. I thought Steph Diggs had a nice day. He was featured late in the practice on some 11 on 11s. Hit him with a crosser, hit him with a nice little half roll underneath sprint out throw from Drake Maye. But the throw of the day and the catch of the day was made by Kyle Williams.
It was, yeah, beautiful throw from Drake Maye. Very reminiscent of some of those deep balls to Kayshon Boutte. The one I'm thinking of in particular is the Kayshon Boutte touchdown at the end of the first half against the Houston Texans. And Drake Maye just lofts it up. Kyle Williams was covered by DJ James, young corner, second year Patriots practice squatter last year, but he's getting some good reps early in these 11 on 11 periods because, again, Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis both out today. So it's DJ James running stride for stride with Kyle Williams, and Drake Maye throws it to him anyway, Tom, or he throws it not to him, but to a spot, and he allowed Kyle Williams to run right underneath it. It was perfectly placed, ends up being a 45-yard or so touchdown, and I love the throw, but I just love his willingness to continue to throw to Kyle Williams, especially down the field, because you are going to need that vertical element. So Kyle Williams is going to have his drops. There was a moment today he was just not in the vicinity for a back shoulder throw from Drake Maye, so they're still not quite there yet, but he keeps trying with him, and I think that's going to really matter to Williams' development. They need somebody who can be that burner, and he can't get there without some real reps from the starting quarterback.
It's interesting to watch the development of Maye. He has a blank slate with basically everybody, whether it be Diggs, still even with the younger guys like Douglas, Polk, Baker. He doesn't know yet to say, I'm never throwing him the football. I think you're not in a position like that until you've been in the league maybe 4, 5, 6 years and say, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's on my do not throw list. So everybody is getting an opportunity and a chance, which means that guys should be having the opportunity to show up. And Javon Baker, again, showed up on a number of underneath plays. Kayshon Boutte with another solid performance today. Got the ball a number of times. And Jalen Polk in a 7 on 7. He was a check down target for Drake Maye. He found a pass from Maye and took it all the way down the field, 7-on-7. They're not tackling, but it was interesting to hear the response of the crowd to Jalen Polk, who I think most of us will acknowledge is up against it. The second-round pick from last year had 12 catches. He was targeted like 35 times, and he had 4 drops in there. That's not good. 4 drops on 36 targets. That's 1 out of every 9. You can't drop the ball that often. So, okay, they're the fans. They've turned on him. Jalen Polk spoke with the media, and we tried to elicit some, maybe some introspection about what went wrong last year and what he would do differently. Here's how that went.
I don't go off the narrative of, what people think of me. I know who I am, and I know the work that I put in each and every day to go out there and help this team win. So I'm going to keep working hard each and every day. I'm going to keep going into my preparation and applying it out there on the field. So, that's what I'm going to keep doing.
Do you acknowledge last year was not exactly what you were looking for?
I don't even think about last year. We got a new staff, new team. Energy's great around here. So, I'm here now. I'm stepping each foot forward. I'm keeping my faith in the Lord and Jesus. And, He's been with me throughout the whole entire way. And, I'm going to keep my faith strong and keep working.
The reason I asked that question at the end, can you acknowledge that last year wasn't what you were looking for, was there were a number of times he was asked about last season, and he kept saying, I'm not going to do anything differently. I'm doing things as I did them last year. And to me, it's opposite day. He was asked, the initial question was, how good was it? Was it difficult to not be on the field for the first 3-4 days of teamwork when all your other guys were out there? He goes, no, it wasn't difficult. It's just the opposite. I mean, the easy thing to do is to say, God, yeah, I want to be out there. I'd love to be out there, and thank God I'm out here now. Did you learn anything from last year? What do you bring with you from last year that didn't work? You're going to do anything different? No, I'm going to be the same guy. It just, to me, I've said this before, I don't need guys to open a vein and be inauthentic, but it doesn't seem as if there's a level of introspection or cognition that, Jesus, I sucked last year. I got to do stuff way different.
Which I would think is sort of the first step in becoming the player you want to be, is acknowledging where your faults are and acknowledging when things did not go well. To me, if you're trying to solve a problem, what do I know? But to say, I'm not even going to think about last year, I guess that's fine. You want to turn the page and you want to only control what you can control, which is what's ahead of you, and I get all that. But, I think what fans would probably love to hear there is, I thought about last year a lot, and it has driven me to become a better player. And I had to go through a tough surgery, and I had to take some time off. And not only was the summer when I can't be on the field difficult, but the spring was difficult too, because I'm running routes on air, and these guys are all out competing on the field. I think that's what you might like to hear. Do you think he's saying the things he's saying just because maybe he feels he's gotten a tough break from the media?
No, I think that he
just doesn't want to agree with anything we might be suggesting or giving us anything that we might be suggesting he should say?
No, I think that he looks in the mirror and sees a wonderfully talented player who was the victim of whatever circumstances he would ascribe last season's performance to, whether it be the drops, the lack of targets, the lack of usage. But the drops are the drops. He said during the season last year at his locker, I got the best hands in the league. So I think that there's a disconnect between the Jalen Polk sees in the mirror and what he's actually producing. So, I could be the next Ernest Hemingway, but I'm not going to be. You know why? There's only one of him. I don't know if that was a great analogy either, Phil, but it's not as hot as yesterday.
Best. I was thinking you might go something in the car world there. That's usually your realm.
Which one?
Cars.
Oh, okay, okay, let's do that. I'm looking in the mirror, and I often do Corolla. It's a nice, efficient car, but I wouldn't even do Corolla. I do like an Alfa Romeo. I think those have some troubles. Do we have Alfa Romeo sponsors? No. They have some troubles. They sometimes underachieve. So you spend a lot on Alfa Romeo, and if it's not performing for you, and I look in the mirror and I say, look at that, I'm a Lexus. I never break down. I'm durable as hell. I'm nice. I'm sleek. My design is tremendous. Traditionally one of the best vehicles you can put your money and faith into. Well, then that's not doing a service to me as an Alfa Romeo.
Kind of lost me there, too. I'm going to be honest, maybe it's just not an analogy kind of day. You win some, you lose some.
All right, well, so there's a disconnect. But whatever he says to us doesn't matter worth one friggin' damn. Who cares what he says to us as long as he produces. And yet, I would not say that it is production that makes you double take one single time. So it's got to come. Maybe it comes next week against the Manders. Maybe it comes during next week's exhibition game. They're called preseason, Tom.
Sure.
Fine. Maybe it comes at some point during camp. But there's an hourglass and there's sand in it. And there's not nearly as much sand in it as Jalen Polk thinks. So start counting some of the grains, okay? Start counting some of the grains.
What's funny is if
that was better.
Skill set, that was better. If his skill set was a little different. If he was a speed guy, I think he'd be getting more opportunities. Because, Tom, they've got more short to intermediate route runners than you could shake a stick at on this roster right now and in that receiver room. Diggs is not a deep threat kind of guy. Pop Douglas is not a deep threat kind of guy. Kendrick Bourne, Kayshon Boutte. I know he caught a few deep balls last year. It's just speed's not really his game. He's not that kind of threat. So I think if Polk's skill set was a little bit different, they'd love to have him. But unfortunately, there's a lot of crossover there, and he's been the least productive of, that entire list that I just mentioned.
All right. So thank you to Jalen Polk. I do mean that, for spending the time and answering the questions and doing it politely, because it can't be fun. And I do understand these guys are young, 22, 23, 24 years old, and it's tough to have the weight of a region saying you kind of sucked last year. What are you going to do better? Because it's not just somebody standing at your desk or your cubicle. It's news, and we talk about it. But hopefully for his sake, he does better. I don't care. I'm just covering the team, and I'll tell you how it goes out there, okay? But God bless him as a guy for standing up there and at least fielding the questions. No drops. Well, there were drops. Meanwhile, let's talk a little bit about load management. Here's Mike Vrabel talking about the absence of Christian Gonzalez. I'm not sure if this is in here or not, but also Morgan Moses and Harold Landry, who listen to it. We'll talk about it.
Again, a player that worked extremely hard to get back and to be ready to go. And I feel like just my first year with Jim and his staff and Frank and our return to play, and the way that we can do their rehab and then transfer over to Frank and his staff, and he knows how we practice and working on those skills and the drills that the coaches are going to have them do. So he worked extremely hard with those guys, to his credit. And then I would say that there's been some positive things that he's done, since he's been back. So we focus on getting back as quickly as possible. I didn't see the mental errors, which sometimes occur when you are getting the installation but not able to go and rep it. So we'll see how today goes with Jalen and the rest of the guys.
Little misfire on my part when I was sending back the request for which sound I wanted. That is, however, Mike Vrabel on Jalen Polk, and I did want that too, so thanks for getting that in. So Vrabel's being positive about Polk. Meanwhile, Harold Landry was having a management day today, it seems. Yes. Morgan Moses back on the field after leaving halfway through practice, seemingly with a management issue, at least it was alluded to in that vein. And Christian Gonzalez still out, and Mike Vrabel said, I'm not going to see him for the rest of the week. Again, as I said yesterday, hoping for more of a day-to-day than a week-to-week situation. Phil?
Yeah, and Carlton Davis, I asked Mike Vrabel today, you said a few days ago that this was maintenance, keeping Carlton Davis out. Is that still the case, or has it reached some adjective beyond maintenance? Because we really haven't. He's practiced in one real practice. Today's day 7. And Vrabel essentially said, he made it seem as though he, like Morgan Moses, like Harold Landry, is going to be on a plan. It would strike me as a little odd, Tom, if the plan was just to give him every day off until, until the regular season, which is kind of how things are trending right now. But it does sound like that's not going to be a serious situation based on the way Vrabel answered that particular question. He lumped him in with all those other guys that are not dealing with long-term issues.
All right. John Henry, one of our favorite security guys, is actually trying to quietly creep away in a golf cart as we stand here on the concourse outside the red level press box at Gillette Stadium. But John Henry, if you're there, my friend, I believe you have questions. Again, thanks for all the feedback. It was really great to read the comments and the appreciation for the work Phil and I are doing. We appreciate you guys showing up at 3 o'clock to listen to us. We're going to do it 2 more times. We're going to do it 1 more time this week. 1 more time, because Friday night we ain't doing it. We have TV right when that in-stadium practice is starting. But, John Henry, if you're there and you got questions, start flapping your gums.
Skull Crusher.
Come on, Crush.
Yeah, weekend sports guy. Which player, offensive, defensive, you see as a dark horse breakout candidate that we haven't been paying attention to yet?
I'd say it's the guy who was making an impact today to be a breakout candidate. As someone we weren't talking about, and that was Caleb Chason. No Landry today. That meant Chason was up. Landry is a fast, small matchup problem for bigger tackles. Caleb Chason a little bit bigger, and he had a hell of a day.
A little bit bigger, but also brings a lot of speed to the table. And just interesting to see both those guys, work in different capacities. Harold Landry, more of an outside linebacker where he likes that 2-point stance, and he uses his speed to get around the edge. He's like a sprinter. But then Caleb Chason, Tom, I don't know if you noticed this, he gets down in the old 4-point stance. He's got both hands on the ground, great posture, great athlete, and he was causing all kinds of problems today. I had him, again, beating Will Campbell twice for sacks, beat Morgan Moses by, in my opinion, in the one-on-one portion of practice. Caleb Chason also, Tom, looking like he's pushing for a core special teams gig on this team. So he could be, if not, 1 or 2 in terms of pass rushers on this team, he could be number 3 behind Keon White and Harold Landry on the edge, and then doing everything on special teams. Today was kickoff and kick return, and he was with the first team for both of those units. So he's making an impact across phases, and to me, he's been one of their best players, period, during this training camp.
Another name for you on the defensive side of the ball, any sports guy, I'm going to say Tonga.
I like that you went there. He's on my stock up list for the day today on NBC Sports Boston.com, coming at you soon. What'd you see from him today? I saw him create some pressure, forced a Drake Maye scramble. He also did great in the one-on-ones, was great yesterday. He's had a good camp.
He has had a good camp, and I think he's just a nuisance in the interior runs. He's tough to move. He's 300. He's their biggest interior lineman. He's basically filling the Godshaw role. But to me, he's something different than both Barmore and Williams. He's a space eater, but he did cause some havoc in there, and that's actually probably what led to, and I'm not sure that Tonga was on the field, but we've seen a number of interior runs stacked up, and Bradbury went off because there was an interior run that got blowed up. So that could be a situation there with Tonga. Check him out. He's one of your interior defensive linemen. Next up, Johnny, if you got one.
Jeff wants to know, is it safe to say that Jarrett Wilson is the biggest positive story so far?
Is Jarrett Wilson the biggest positive story so far, Phil, in your mind?
In some ways, Tommy, might be, just because the offensive line has been such a blemish on this roster for such a significant period of time. The fact that they have been able to find a young player in the draft, day 2 of the draft, who looks like, from the moment he showed up, a starting caliber player, that's a big win for them in the front office. It's a big win for Drake Maye, who needs as much protection as he can get. You would love for Will Campbell to be the guy that everybody is raving about. Caden Wallace today talking about how, Jarrett Wilson's really, really bleeping good. You'd love to hear those quotes about the guy who's taken 4 overall and not at the bottom of the 3rd round. But in terms of their long-term outlook as a franchise, that might be the most positive story. I would add to that.
Oh, wait, I got one.
Drake May's been really good.
Jesus. You can't have 2 and I get none. Yeah, I would say the positive story that I would chalk up is the guy who threw 4 picks on the first OTA that we set off a rash of panic in the region has yet to throw a pick. Drake Maye being pickless.
8 for 10 today. I had him 8 for 10. He did take 3 sacks.
Pickless.
But that's a good percentage in the middle of the field. We talked about it yesterday. The percentage is not going to be as good in the red zone, tighter windows, all that little bit elevated degree of difficulty. But today, more middle of the field work. Some hurry up, not a ton, but some. And I thought a really clean performance from Maye today.
Drake Maye, pickless wonder. Next, John, if we got one.
All right, last one for you. Kyle wants to know, how can the Patriots effectively manage players with minor injuries as well as their older players so they are ready for the season while also making sure they get their reps in training camp?
Kyle, good question, and I think it's a balance that every season we see try to be established, is how do players get managed with injuries or age while still getting the entire team ready. And I think Morgan Moses' situation will probably be illustrative of the ideal way to do it. You get him out there, he goes for a practice and a half full, he goes in the pads, he goes on the first 3 practices, he's out there to meet with the media. Less important, I think, than spending time with his teammates, but he's a presence at all times to be out there and also on the field to show that, hey, I'm here, I'm in the heat with you, I'm ready to go, but then also being smart about a 34-year-old player. everybody's got to be different. And if you are not out at practice, for anybody who's played any sports down the road or has played sports in the past, if you're not practicing, your coaches don't love you. They don't. They're looking at you and they want you to be practicing, and you're guilty until proven innocent, and they're going to ask you questions. You better have the answers, and you better be milling around with your position group the way you ought to be when you're not out on the field. Phil?
I agree with you, but I think they are being smart with guys like Moses, with Harold Landry, with Carlton Davis. These guys all seem to be on different levels of maintenance plans that clearly have, it seems as though, have sign off from the coaching staff and from Mike Vrabel himself.
I will say, I don't understand why you want to spend $18 million a year on a good, not great corner, and then just say, and knowing that you're not going to be able to get much contribution out of him. I mean, he's not a hired gun Deion Sanders, Pat Peterson kind of cornerback. It's Carlton Davis.
It is Carlton Davis, but that Carlton Davis is more valuable to you in September than he is to you in July and early August. And so if he's dealing with something, remember, he started training camp on NFI. He came back for one practice. It was day one of practice. He looked like he was pretty much a full go. But you have to wonder, did he strain something? Did he aggravate something in that session? Because he hasn't had a real practice since then. He's just been doing all the walkthroughs. So you do have to be smart about it, I think. And I like that they're managing guys and they're not just driving and pushing forward and saying, well, if Morgan Moses gets hurt, he gets hurt. Next guy up.
Right.
There's no next guy. Demontre Jacobs hasn't been horrible in camp, but the depth at tackle isn't great. The depth at corner isn't great. The depth at tight end isn't great. Like, you got Hunter Henry is a guy, in my opinion, they should be managing. You know what Hunter Henry is. Does he need these snaps out here? Does he need to be taking shots from corners and safeties in the middle of the field, running up the seam completely unprotected, which he did today? No, he doesn't. And for the most part, he's going to practice anyway, even if he's banged up. But to me, it's much more important to have that guy healthy in season. I think you probably lean more towards that, Tom, than towards the old school, well, we're just going to grind through and whatever comes out in the wash comes out in the wash.
Yeah, I just wonder, as if you're a new ad and it's a new program, if it's any more important for guys to get out there as they're playing with their new teammates for the first time.
Fair.
But we appreciate all the questions, and we appreciate all the comments, and we appreciate you, and we appreciate Bill Messina, who's behind the camera, and Adam Hart, who's over here running point. We appreciate the Skull Crusher. We appreciate Jeremy back there producing. We appreciate NBC Sports Boston for employing us. I appreciate you. We appreciate you, Tom. If you would shut up so everyone can go inside and you people can go back to the work that you're not doing.